Hi, my name is Sarah Daniels, and this is my presentation on my essay on dyslexia, an essay on effective strategies to invoke change. Okay. Why? Sorry, guys. So the first point I make is an effective method for teaching students with dyslexia on how to read better is by using audio-guided reading. Now, these are text and quotes from my essay that I have typed out, and quotes from the people that I've used. But to support that claim, I say by having the audio of the book being read and having the student follow along with the book, it can show the students, they can hear the words audibly being read to them and how they're supposed to sound, how they're supposed to flow into a sense, and possibly decipher the meaning while following the book. And they also get to see how the word actually looks. Now, dyslexia, I know it switches words up, but as Knoop van Kampen, Verhoeven, and Segers, I am so sorry if they suggest that a lot of recorded lectures or classes and multisensory instructions can offer dyslexic students the opportunity to process the information. So basically, the point that I'm making in the first portion of my essay is that they need to hear and have these different sensory tools to basically break down the first block on how to read better and see things better on paper and to write it out. Point two that I make is to be able to motivate students to want to do better. Now, this is the biggest strategy within teaching, and especially with students with different disabilities, especially with dyslexia. It's hard to motivate students to want to do better. But as Catherine Knight says, to more effectively educate these students, we have to educate ourselves. Also, we have to look at our prejudices towards the students and realize that they're more than capable to continue education and go far in life, and reinforce that with what parents and their child, that they will be able to go on to college and complete education or degree as any other student. So basically, we as teachers, we have to kind of break down what our understanding is of dyslexia, understand that it's not, we have to view it as not as a learning disability, but rather as just a little challenge, a little bump in the road as I go through life. My biggest challenge growing up was that I have ADHD, but I also have type 1 diabetes, and a lot of people especially in my elementary, middle school, well, mainly my middle school years, viewed those both as a big disability for me, and that I would just be sitting around or doing a desk job or being one of those secretaries. And that's I had one teacher straight up just tell me that I would be a secretary because of my ADHD and my diabetes. Clearly that's not the case. I'm in college. I'm doing good. But to be able to motivate students to want to do better, we have to effectively educate ourselves as educators, as people teaching it. The second point I make is to help teachers identify students that are in more need of help and using ulterior methods of learning. In this paragraph, I basically state that we need to find better ways to fully understand what is going on with our students, and to find better teaching methods to make sure that they're getting the best education that they can be. And in that terms, that can be the best way to motivate them to do better. Point three of my essay is that I say that phonological spelling is a method of spelling that emphasizes the pronunciation of words, and I cannot emphasize enough on why that is so important for students with dyslexia. Sorry, my sister called me. With dyslexia, because when students of dyslexia are looking at words and they're getting confused, they're getting frustrated, by having them use different fonts such as Arial or Comic Sans, they allow students to be more effectively read unfamiliar words in the classroom that they're having confusion with or they're having struggles with. And not only that, throughout this phonological spelling, having 15 as Rijoven, I have struggled saying this word so many times, says having 15 minutes of studies with phonological spelling until they had an accuracy of 80% when reading and writing significantly increased their fluency. This is from one of his studies where he basically had students sit and read and like use these different fonts, use these different hearing the words and spelling them out, continuously going over it and over again with different strategies until they got 80% of understanding it. Now, granted, that's going to make the student feel a little defeated from a teacher standpoint, because going over it and over and over it is annoying, and no student, especially in middle school, they don't want to go over the words so many times, but giving them that encouragement to do it at least 15 minutes a day, whether that can be in the classroom or in a study hall or before they go home, or even telling the parents when they go home to have them go over these different fonts and typing it up and then going it over and fixing it, and then implicating that from a teacher to the student on why this is the correct way, sounding it out, saying it out loud, but then like changing the fonts up so that they can understand and see the word correctly to understand it. The fourth point I make is the use of self-regulation. Now, self-regulation was defined as setting goals and plans, monitoring and revising text, according to Michael Herbert. This can be great with students when you're making, self-regulated goals of what the student wants and to doing better for themselves and even you can even implement it with yourself as a teacher. I didn't put that point in there, but you can, self-regulation was it's basically having the students monitor themselves and putting in the time and effort into fixing what they're struggling, into doing it. But by introducing students with a lot of different media and things to help them improve their exposure to the different words that they're having difficulty with, this would so greatly benefit them as a student to have these words either slightly exposed or heavily exposed to these new words. It will allow them to want that change and to motivate them from the last point I made. My last and final point is to identify a student early with dyslexia. As Veronica and Faith have explored in their own little studies, is that teachers' experiences of using the screening, identification, assessment, and support strategies support learners with dyslexia, emphasize the importance of individualized instructions. As we can attest, reading is one of those things that is greatly required for further education. Finding these strategies and finding out if students have a dyslexia problem can just benefit them in the long run. It can really help them make a change and to hone in on those studies, hone in on those implemented methods and strategies to help them do better when they do reach middle school or even high school. If they find out as early as like maybe in elementary, it will further their education journey so much, and they'll still need those implementations and strategies throughout their entire life so that they, or throughout their educational journey so that they can be able to reach the goal of becoming that doctor that they want to be, or that teacher or something that they want. It will help them in their future sooner than later that we can implement methods such as audio-assisted reading and phonological spelling to help them encourage them to study. These are my 5 points. This is what my essay was basically over: the different strategies, the different teaching methods, and the different ways of doing good for the students. If you have any questions, these are my resources that I use throughout my essay. I really enjoyed all of them. I highly recommend going back and looking at all of them and reading through all of them.